My name is Kate. I'm 31 years old and live in Hartford, Connecticut. I work as a marketing manager for the tech company my father built from the ground up. It's not just a business, it's his legacy. After his unexpected passing, I've dedicated myself to keeping it thriving. The company, now worth $400 million, is a symbol of his hard work and dreams. Yet, on the night of my 31th birthday, a moment meant for celebration turned into one of the darkest experiences of my life, a moment that changed everything. The excitement for my birthday had been building for weeks. I wanted it to be perfect. Every detail was planned meticulously. I envisioned a warm gathering, filled with laughter, love, and cherished memories. My plan wasn't just to celebrate turning 31, but also to honor my father's memory and his legacy. I wanted this day to be special, something that would make him proud. But in the days leading up to the celebration, things fell off. My husband, Nick, had been distant for months. We'd been married for 6 years, and in the beginning, it felt like a dream. He was charming, attentive, and seemed to love me deeply. But recently, he'd grown cold. He buried himself in work, spent little time with me, and avoided serious conversations. Whenever I tried to ask if something was wrong, he brushed me off, saying he was just stressed. Deep down, I felt there was more to it, but I pushed those feelings aside, hoping it was just a rough patch. The day of my birthday arrived. Despite Nick's moodiness, I was determined to enjoy the evening. Friends and family gathered. The house was filled with laughter and warmth, and for a while, it felt like everything might be okay. I stood by the table, knife in hand, ready to cut the beautiful cake I had chosen. It was a moment I had envisioned, a snapshot of joy. Then it happened. As I leaned forward, Nick's voice cut through the room. "Stop this nonsense," he shouted. His tone was sharp and cold, silencing everyone around us. Before I could process what was happening, he slapped me hard across the face. The sound echoed, and the pain was immediate, but it was the shock that froze me in place. The joy of the moment shattered in an instant. Before I could react, he grabbed my arms in a fit of rage and shoved me to the ground. I felt the cold, hard floor beneath me, and my heart sank. Everything I believed about love and our marriage crumbled in that moment. Lying there, humiliated and broken, I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me, their stunned silence pressing down like a heavy fog. For years, I had ignored the warning signs, the little moments of anger, the dismissive remarks, the emotional distance that had grown between us. I had told myself that things would get better, that this was just a phase, that the man I fell in love with would come back to me. But now, the reality was impossible to deny. This wasn't love. This wasn't a marriage. It was abuse. As I lay on the floor, something inside me shifted. The humiliation burned, but it ignited something deeper: determination. I wasn't just a victim of his anger. I was a woman who deserved better. A woman who needed to reclaim her life. At that moment, I made a silent vow. This would be the last time he would ever hurt me. That night, as the guests slowly left, unsure of what to say, I began to gather my thoughts. I reflected on my father's legacy, the strength and perseverance he had instilled in me. He had built an empire from nothing, teaching me that resilience could overcome any obstacle. I knew I couldn't let this be my story. I couldn't let Nick's abuse define me or my future. The next morning, I took my first step toward freedom. I packed a bag, left our home, and sought help. It wasn't easy. The journey ahead was filled with challenges, fear, and moments of doubt. But I reminded myself every day that I deserved love, respect, and a life free from fear. Today, I'm rebuilding. I've surrounded myself with people who lift me up, who remind me of my worth. The scars Nick left may never fully fade, but they've become a part of my story, a story of strength, courage, and survival. If you're reading this and find yourself in a similar situation, know that you are not alone. There is hope and there is help. You are stronger than you realize, and your life can be beautiful again. Just take that first step. You deserve it. I was a bundle of nerves, making sure everything was perfect. Friends and family started arriving, and the house was soon buzzing with excitement. My best friend, Miriam, was the first to walk through the door. "Wow, Kate, everything looks stunning," she exclaimed, her eyes lighting up as she admired the decorations. "Thanks, Jess. I just hope Nick likes it," I replied, glancing around anxiously for him. Despite my excitement, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was unhappy.
Don't worry about him.
"Let's just have fun tonight," Miriam encouraged, pulling me into the living room where guests were mingling and chatting. As the party progressed, I noticed Nick spending most of his time with his mother, Alicia. Alicia had always been critical of me, and tonight was no exception. "Kate, dear," she said, approaching me with her usual scrutinizing gaze, "the decorations are lovely, but don't you think the colors clash a bit? A more sophisticated touch would have been better." I forced a smile, feeling the familiar sting of her words. "Thanks for the feedback, Alicia." I thought they added a cheerful vibe. Alicia gave a tight-lipped smile and walked away, leaving me feeling deflated. I caught Nick laughing with his sister Amber, but he barely acknowledged me. The warmth and affection we once shared seemed like a distant memory. Finally, it was time to cut the cake. I felt a surge of excitement. This was my moment, a time to celebrate with everyone I loved. I stood at the head of the table, knife in hand, surrounded by friends and family ready to cheer me on. But just as I was about to make the first cut, Nick stood up abruptly. "Kate, stop this nonsense," he shouted, his voice harsh. I froze, the knife hovering above the cake as my heart raced. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to us. "What are you talking about?" I stammered, confused. "You need to transfer the house and the company to my name," he demanded, his expression a mixture of anger and entitlement. "You don't need them. You've never understood their true value." My mind raced as I tried to process his words.
What?
"You can't be serious. This company is worth $400 million. It was my father's legacy." "Exactly," he shouted back. "And it's time you realized you have no idea how to run it. I'm doing this for us, so we can finally be free from the past." My heart sank as the reality of his demands settled in. He wasn't just trying to control my life. He was attempting to take everything my father had worked for. "I'm not transferring anything," I said firmly, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "This is mine, and I will not let you take it from me." The tension in the room escalated, and the weight of his betrayal pressed down on me.
This wasn't the man I thought I married.
This wasn't love. It was manipulation, greed, and control. For the first time, I saw him for who he truly was, and I knew I had to protect not only my father's legacy, but also my own future. In that moment, I resolved to take back my power and walk away from a man who didn't value me or the life we were supposed to build together. It wouldn't be easy, but I knew I was stronger than he gave me credit for. The moment Nick's hand struck my face, the sound echoed through the stunned silence of the room. I stumbled back, my hand flying to my cheek as the sting of his slap burned through my skin. Humiliation and betrayal washed over me like a tidal wave. Before I could process what was happening, he grabbed me in a fit of rage and threw me to the ground. The cold, hard floor beneath me was a sharp contrast to the warmth I had once felt in his presence. My heart raced with fear and confusion, and the weight of everyone's gaze pressed down on me. Shock and horror painted their faces, but no one moved to help. Alicia, his mother, stood beside him, her expression calm, her head nodding in approval. That small gesture shattered something inside me. The woman who had once smiled at me as a mother-in-law now stood silently endorsing her son's cruelty. I felt utterly devastated. "Get out of my life, Kate. I don't love you anymore. I'm going to marry someone who understands business." Nick spat, his words cutting deeper than the slap ever could. Tears streamed down my face as his declaration echoed in my ears. His rejection wasn't just personal, it was an attack on everything I had believed in. Without another word, I fled upstairs, the walls of the house closing in on me. I collapsed onto my bed, sobbing uncontrollably, the weight of his betrayal crushing my chest until I could barely breathe. Moments later, There was a soft knock on the door. "Kate, it's me, Miriam," came the gentle voice of my best friend. She opened the door cautiously, rushing to my side as soon as she saw me. "Oh my God, are you okay?" "I can't believe he did that." "I don't know what happened, Jess," I sobbed, my voice broken. "I thought we were happy. I thought he loved me." Miriam pulled me into a tight hug, then pulled back to look me in the eyes. "Listen to me, Kate. This isn't okay," she said firmly. "You need to leave him. He's been controlling you for a long time. This isn't just a one-time thing." Her words sank in slowly. My mind raced through memories of all the little moments I had ignored, the times his jokes had cut too deep, the times he dismissed my feelings, and how I always felt like I was walking on eggshells around him. I had been blind to the truth. "I can't just leave," I whispered, shaking my head. "He's my husband. I love him." Miriam's voice softened, but her resolve remained strong. "But does he love you, Kate?"
You deserve so much better than this.
Her words hit me like a jolt. Sitting in the darkness of my bedroom, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in years. Anger. Not just at Nick, but at myself for allowing things to get this far. I had been a victim for too long, and it was time to reclaim my life. As I stared at my reflection in the mirror, I saw a woman who was tired of being treated like a doormat. Determination began to rise within me. "I'm going to figure this out," I whispered, my voice steady despite the tears. I wiped my face and began gathering my thoughts. A plan started to take shape in my mind. I wouldn't let Nick or Alicia control my future any longer. It was time to fight back. It was time to take back my life. The days following that disastrous birthday party were a whirlwind of emotions. I was devastated, angry, and above all, determined. Nick's cruel words echoed in my mind. "I don't love you anymore. I'm going to marry someone who understands business." Those words, meant to tear me down, instead lit a fire within me. I realized I had been living in denial, blinded by love and hope, but it was time to face the harsh reality. "Are you okay, Kate?" Miriam asked when she came over a few days later. We sat together in my living room, the remnants of the party still scattered around. The sight of the half-deflated balloons and wilting flowers felt like a metaphor for my life, once vibrant, now fading.
I don't know, Jess.
"I feel broken," I admitted. "But I also feel angry. I don't want him to win. I don't want him to take everything from me." Miriam's face lit up with pride. "That's the Kate I know. You're stronger than you think, and you're not alone in this. Whatever you need, I'm here for you." Her support gave me the strength to take the first steps. I began researching my options, consulting with lawyers, and documenting everything. Each step was terrifying, but it was also liberating. I was reclaiming my power, piece by piece. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would lead me to self-discovery and empowerment. The road ahead was uncertain and filled with challenges, but I was ready to face them. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a purpose again, to rebuild my life, protect my father's legacy, and prove to myself that I deserved better. This was my story, and I was determined to write the next chapter on my terms. I had tried to clean up, but the decorations felt like painful reminders of what had happened. Each streamer and balloon seemed to mock me, whispering the truth of my shattered marriage. "I don't know, Jess," I admitted, feeling the weight of my situation pressing down on me. "I keep replaying everything in my mind. I thought we had a good marriage." Miriam placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Sometimes the signs are there, but we choose to ignore them," she said gently. "You need to figure out what you really want, Kate." I took a deep breath, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "I want my life back. I want to expose him for who he truly is." "That's the spirit," Miriam said with a determined smile. "But first, we need to gather some evidence. You can't just confront him without a plan." Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention to everything Nick did. I noticed his strange behavior, late-night phone calls, his habit of keeping his phone face down on the table, and the way he avoided eye contact. These small signs had been there all along, but I had ignored them, clinging to the hope that things were fine. One night, I decided to stay up late and wait for him to come home from work. My heart raced as I heard the familiar sound of his key turning in the lock. "Hey, Kate, you're still awake," he said, stepping into the living room. His expression was unreadable. "Yeah, just couldn't sleep," I replied, forcing a smile. "How was your day?" "It was fine," he said, avoiding my gaze as he took off his shoes. I watched him closely, trying to gauge his mood, but the tension in the air was palpable. "Nick, can we talk about what happened at the party?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "Do we have to?" "I thought we were past that," he replied dismissively, heading toward the kitchen. "Past what?" I pressed. "You slapped me in front of our friends. That's not something we can just forget." He turned to face me, irritation flashing in his eyes. "You know how my mother can be. You should have listened to her." "Listened to hers?" I shot back, feeling a surge of defiance. "You were the one who humiliated me. I can't believe you would side with her after that." "Maybe you should take a look at yourself first," he snapped, storming off into the kitchen. I felt my heart sink. This conversation wasn't going anywhere, and I was running out of patience. As the days turned into weeks, I continued my investigation, determined to uncover the truth. With Miriam's help, I discovered that Nick had been spending far more time with his assistant, Roxanne, than I had realized. They would meet for coffee or dinner, and the more I learned, the clearer the picture became. One evening, while scrolling through social media, I came across a photo of Nick and Roxanne laughing together at a restaurant. The caption read, "Date night with my favorite person, #blessed." My blood ran cold. They were having an affair, and I had been blind to it. "Jess, look at this," I said, showing her the picture. Her eyes widened, and she took a deep breath, anger flashing in her expression. "This confirms what we suspected. He's definitely cheating on you," she said, her voice tight with fury. "You need to confront him." "I will," I replied, my voice firm. "But first, I need to be prepared." In that moment, I knew I couldn't approach this recklessly. I needed to gather my strength and ensure that when the time came, I would have everything I needed to stand up to Nick and take control of my life. The fight was just beginning, but I was ready. I knew I needed more evidence. I couldn't let Nick twist the story or manipulate the situation. With a renewed sense of determination, I decided to consult a lawyer. I needed to understand my options and prepare for the battle ahead. After researching local attorneys, I found Mary, a lawyer with a strong reputation for handling cases like mine. During our consultation, I explained everything, my heart racing as I laid it all out. "I suspect my husband is cheating on me and planning to take control of my finances," I confessed. Mary listened carefully, nodding as she took detailed notes. "Gathering evidence will be crucial for any legal action," she advised. "Document everything, dates, conversations, and any financial discrepancies. This way, you'll be prepared to protect yourself." Feeling empowered, I returned home and began organizing everything I had learned. I collected text messages, emails, and notes from past conversations that had raised red flags. Slowly but surely, the puzzle pieces were coming together, and I could feel my strength building. One evening, as I sat at the kitchen table poring over my notes, Nick walked in. He looked surprised to see me still awake. "Working late?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Just going over some things," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "What things?" he pressed, stepping closer. "Just a personal project," I said, deflecting his attention. He narrowed his eyes at me. "You've been acting strange lately. Is there something you want to tell me?" His voice had a sharp edge, as if he suspected something. "No, nothing at all," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just enjoying some peace and quiet after the party." Nick didn't push the conversation further, but his eyes lingered on me, trying to read my thoughts. I stayed calm, though inside, I felt my nerves fraying. The tension between us had reached a boiling point, and it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. In the following days, I meticulously gathered more evidence of Nick's betrayal and deceit. I delved into our business accounts, and with Mary's guidance, I uncovered a shocking truth. Nick had been diverting funds from my company into a separate account for months. The realization left me feeling sick to my stomach, but it also fueled my determination. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was financial abuse, and I wasn't going to let him get away with it. The turning point came when I received a call from Mary. "Kate, we've gathered enough evidence to proceed with filing for divorce and exposing Nick's embezzlement. Are you ready for this?" "Yes," I replied, my voice steady and unwavering. "I'm ready." With a plan in place, I decided to confront Nick in a controlled setting. I invited him to meet me at the house, telling him we needed to talk things through. It would be the perfect moment to reveal everything I had discovered and put an end to his manipulative game. When Nick arrived, he seemed caught off guard to find me sitting at the dining table with a stack of documents laid out in front of me. His expression shifted from confusion to suspicion as he approached. "What's all this?" he asked, furrowing his brow. I looked up at him, my gaze unwavering. "It's everything I've uncovered about you, Nick. Your affair, the embezzlement, all of it." His face paled, and for the first time, he seemed at a loss for words. "Kate, I can explain," he started, but I held up a hand to stop him. "No more lies, Nick. This ends now. You've betrayed me in every way possible, but you won't take my life, my company, or my future from me." As I laid out the evidence, his facade crumbled. It was a moment of clarity and empowerment for me. The journey had been painful, but I was finally reclaiming my life. Little did I know, this confrontation was just the beginning of a new chapter, one of self-discovery, strength, and freedom. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. "I need to show you something important," I said. "I've gathered proof of your lies and crimes. You can't hide from this anymore, Nick." His face went pale. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, his eyes darting to the papers on the table. "I have proof of your affair with Roxanne and evidence that you've been stealing money from my company and putting it into a secret account," I said firmly. I watched as the color drained from his face. "You thought I wouldn't find out, didn't you?" He opened his mouth to deny it, but I didn't let him speak. "You think you can manipulate me? You're wrong. I won't let you control my life anymore." Nick's anger flared as he realized he had been caught. "You don't know what you're talking about, Kate. This is all in your head. You're just being paranoid," he shouted, his voice shaking with desperation. "Paranoid?" I repeated, shocked by his audacity. "I have proof, Nick. You've been stealing from me and betraying everything we once had." He lunged toward me, but I stood my ground. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid. "You won't intimidate me anymore," I said, my voice steady and confident. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. Mary stepped in, followed by 4 police officers. One of them spoke firmly. "Nick Frost, you are under arrest for embezzlement and domestic abuse." Nick's face turned white as he realized what was happening. "You can't do this," he shouted, but it was too late. The officers moved quickly, handcuffing him while I stood watching. A wave of relief washed over me. For the first time, I wasn't a victim anymore. I had taken back control of my life. As they led him away, I stood in disbelief. I had done it. I had stood up for myself, exposed the truth, and found my strength. The darkness that had overshadowed my life for so long was finally lifting. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I poured all my energy into the company, determined to honor my father's legacy and make the business even more successful. With Mary's help, I ensured the company stayed under my control, while Nick faced the full legal consequences of his actions. One evening, as I worked late in my office, I paused to reflect on everything that had happened. I realized how far I had come. I had faced my fears and come out stronger. The road had been long and hard, but I had found my voice and reclaimed my power. Looking out the window at the setting sun, I felt a sense of peace. I was ready to write my own story, free from the shadows of the past. My journey of self-discovery had only just begun, and I was excited to see where it would lead me next.